topics. They know how to play the game of football. However, in the Super Bowls, they usually fall short, especially if the other side is led by Patrick Mahomes. Well, there's been some drama brewing for the Niners. Brandon Aiyuk, wide receiver, he's in the middle of a contract dispute. But his teammate George Kittle said he's not concerned about it, adding, quote, "I'm going to assume that Aiyuk's going to be on our team by the time the season starts," close quote. If y'all know this show, if y'all know me, y'all know I represent these Niners mainly because I love the brand of football that they play. Their head coach, Kyle Shanahan, he knows how to coach. Their defense, they know how to hit. Their offense, they know how to execute. But some people try to suggest that the Niners Super Bowl window might be coming to a close. Dave Hellman, what do you say? Is the Niners Super Bowl window closing?
Am I out of your range? Like, can you reach me over here? Yeah, I think it's closing with this team. Again, Kyle Shanahan doesn't look like he's going anywhere. John Lynch is there. Like, I think the Niners have the foundation for success, but I think about windows in terms of this current roster.
Okay.
This group of guys that's been to 3 straight NFC Championship games, lost the Super Bowl. You see you smiling over there. You love this team so much. This group of guys, I really feel like this is this group's last best chance.
Okay.
Because you can see it coming to a close. Brandon Aiyuk is going to be on this team. Barring something crazy happening, I agree. He's going to be there. What happens after that? I really think this is your last chance with Brandon Aiyuk, unless you're going to pay him, which where's that money going to come from when you think of the other guys you got to pay? At this time next year, I think we should all brace ourselves for Brock Purdy to be a $60 million quarterback. Ooh. He's up for a new contract after this season. He will have all the argument he needs to break the bank. How do you keep a team like this together when Brock Purdy's on that type of salary? How long is Trent Williams going to play? Arguably the most underrated thing about this Niners run is having the best left tackle in football by a pretty wide margin, in my opinion. He's 36 years old. How long is he going to do it? George Kittle, love him to death. I've been enjoying the TV show. He's turning 30. Christian McCaffrey, 28 years old, I would add, has had a very good run of health during his 2 years in San Francisco. Can you count on that as he gets older and he gets more touches? Did I mention keeping other smaller pieces of the team together? What happens to your defensive stars if you keep paying these offensive stars? We've heard rumors about Deebo Samuel potentially being a guy that could get traded to make room for Brandon Aiyuk if they do sign him. This team has become such a juggernaut because they have hit on so many draft picks and added so many pieces while not having to pay the quarterback. Well, not only are those guys getting older, but you're about to have to pay the quarterback in a big, big way. I really think 2024 is the last chance for this group of guys to get it done.
Well said. Well said. Well said.
You're not mad at me?
Disagree.
Okay.
Nah, I mean, when you lay out your takes, with a lot of competency, a lot of in-depth research. It's an honor for the viewers. It's an honor for me. Now, I disagree because when I think about the Niners, James, when I think about the Niners, Schultz, the Niners are constructed in a way that can last forever. And not only that, Dave Hellman kind of brushed over it, all really focused in on it. The Niners draft incredibly well. Hufanga's a 5th-round pick, was an all-pro. Fred Warner's a 3rd-round pick that's the best linebacker in football. So even after this year, I see Fred Warner consistently being on the roster. I see Hufanga being on the roster. Purdy will be on the roster. Kittle's only 30, if I'm not mistaken. Kittle came into the league in 2017. I feel like he's been in the league forever. Kittle came into the league in 2017. I think he still has 3 to 4 more years in him. Another 5th-round pick drafted by this team. So I think the nucleus will still be intact. Now, Dave, you make a great point. Some pieces will go. I don't know if I see Deebo Samuel being on the roster in 3 years, especially at how much money he's going to cost this organization. Brandon Aiyuk needs to get paid. I don't know if I see him being on the roster. But not in 3 to 4 years, because I think Aiyuk needs to go get $30 million. I think he'll probably end up getting it elsewhere. But here's what I think, though. Here's what I think.
Very close to it.
Even if Aiyuk is gone, Pearsall will be another guy.
Pearsall's going to be.
You know what I mean?
Pearsall's going to be
Pearsall's going to be another guy.
I like Ricky Pearsall, but you can't say that right now.
You can't, but you couldn't have said it about Aiyuk 4 years ago. Aiyuk coming out of ASU was nice, but he's the same draft class. Was he a CD?
Yeah.
And JJ? Like, nobody was thinking about Aiyuk. I think he was drafted number 27 overall. Like, he was probably the 4th or 5th receiver taken, because then Jalen Reagor, wasn't he that draft class too?
Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, so, like, Aiyuk is just off names that Dave's mentioned into my left, was at best the 5th or 6th receiver taken.
That was a tough draft. That was a great receiver draft.
I say that to say Kyle Shanahan will find a way not just to rebuild, he'll find a way to reload. That's where I'm at with it, Schultz.
Brock Purdy definitively is the greatest value in sports, making $800,000. I mean, there's not a more valuable player when you talk about money. He's 12-4 last year, 4,300 yards, 31 touchdowns. He is the real deal, folks. Forget Mr. Irrelevant. Brock Purdy's the truth. He's going to get paid next year.
Okay.
He's the only reason he has it because he's not eligible.
Right.
So when you think about this roster in its iteration, they have all the tools to win a Super Bowl. But if they don't do it this year, it does concern me because once you pay the quarterback, as Seattle learned with Russell Wilson, as we've seen time and time again with different franchises throughout the course of the last 15 years, when you pay the quarterback, then you lose the ability to have bargains elsewhere. They paid Deebo. They paid Kittle. Yeah. They have to pay Aiyuk. They have Trent Williams. You mentioned he's 36. They paid Warner. They paid McCaffrey. So when Purdy comes up next year, if they haven't won a Super Bowl, it's not the pressure on Shannon because he hasn't done it. It's because they simply won't be able to pay everyone else. It's what Cincinnati's going through right now. They just paid Joe Burrow. They can't pay T. Now they have to pay Jamar. You know, you have to make really tough decisions. And I understand San Francisco's a big market, the Bay Area. They have an unbelievable fan base. They've been consistent throughout Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's tenure. But the bottom line is, if they don't win this year, it becomes extraordinarily more difficult to win once you pay the quarterback.
But, James, where I'm at with it, I look at the Dallas Cowboys, Dave. You'll know this point as I tee up.
I don't know why we're talking about them in the Super Bowl conversation.
Because roster. With the Cowboys, the reason the Cowboys got all these All-Pros, they draft well. Trayvon Diggs,
Tyler
drafted.
Smith was another one.
Micah Parsons, drafted. Yeah. Tyler Smith, drafted. The Cowboys don't have all these All-Pros because they acquire cats in free agency. Right. They paid Dak Prescott. He was top of the market 3 years ago. 4 years, $160 million contract, no trade clause, no tag clause, and they got 8 All-Pros. Because Kevontae Turpin, they was watching Summer League, UFLs, XFLs, UXFLs, and they're like, you know what? We want you, All-Pro. So the Niners, in a similar fashion, James, draft so well, I think we'll just be talking about the next Fred Warner and the next Hufanga and the next Aiyuk.
Yeah, I think the Niners Super Bowl window, as long as Kyle Shanahan is there, is wide open. And as long as Lynch is there, is wide open. And the reason why I say that is because not all organizations operate like them. These dudes are going to put together a talented roster. They had arguably the best run game. Yeah. You know what they said? We need to trade. Who they trade for?
Christian McCaffrey.
The baddest man in the world. You understand what I'm saying? Like Raheem Mostert and them boys was toting the rock.
Yes,
you had a really good run game. John Lynch and them said, nah. We going to trade for the baddest man in the world right now at the running back spot. You traded for Trent. Like, they are always going to make sure they have the players to compete for a championship as long as those two guys are there. And I understand the quarterback is coming up and he's going to make money. It's a lot of quarterbacks making a lot of money with a lot of talent around them still, right? Andy Reid just came in here, drafted a speedster, signed Hollywood Brown. Like, there's ways you can put talent around a roster. And the Niners are going to make sure they are going to do that. And I have to believe it because that's all they've shown me. Each and every year they come into the season, they act like it's all in, no matter what it is. They go trade, they free agent, whatever they act like they're all in. So with that being said, I think the window is wide open.
But what enables them to do all that stuff?
The cheap quarterback?
An $800,000 quarterback.
But see,
how can you afford to be all in when you have unlimited resources?
Dave,
because the most important position
when you know, in my mind, you know too much to say that because you've witnessed it for 15 years now with the Cowboys. And really the greater half of the last 6. And the fact of you're paying Tony Romo a good amount of money, you're paying Dak Prescott a good amount of money, eventually you'll have to pay Purdy. But think about, to James's point, 2019, Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida.
They were nice.
3 running backs, each had over 500 yards, and they went to the Super Bowl with them. You went to the Super Bowl with Emmanuel Sanders on the back half of his career, with a rookie Deebo Samuel, with the second-year rookie Fred Warner. And then you did it again 4 years later. Where I'm at is, even if the Niners don't have great players, they make players great.
They do. And like I did say this at the top of my argument. You got Shanahan, you got Lynch, you got some of these pieces. They will have other chances. But we're talking about this team, and more specifically, this juggernaut of a team. A team that can afford to trade for CMC when they've already got all these other stars. A team that can lose the NFC title game and say, who's that Hargrave guy in Philly? Yeah, we got $84 million we can give him. That is about to go.
Quarterback.
It's about to go out the window. The thing that makes the Niners so scary.
A lot of dudes restructured.
They got all pros at every level on both sides of their team.
But here's my thing.
And that's about to go away.
Think about this. You drafted DeForest Buckner. You drafted Nick Bosa.
Eric
So
Armstead.
even you drafted on. So even if you didn't trade for Hargrave, you've already shown you can draft DeForest Buckner,
it's-
and he's a top 5 D tackle. Who